What's up, guys? It's been a few days. Shop's kind of a mess right now because I am working on bodywork, race car stuff. It's my favorite thing. Just kidding, obviously it's not, it sucks. But yeah, a few updates. Got the car kind of mostly back together. I rebuilt the transmission. Transmission is now in. All I really need to do is just add fluid. But yeah, everything engine bay wise is pretty much back together. All I'm really missing is the intake. A big kind of reliability update change that I've done is I actually replaced the knuckles. Really for no reason other than just because I had these and I had a new set of wheel bearings. These are exactly the same knuckles as what I ran. They're EK knuckles. And for those who have kind of new to the channel, the reason I run EK knuckles is the height from the hub to the top here is actually 7 mil shorter. So that helps a little bit with my geometry. It gives me more suspension travel because I'm not jamming the UCA into the shock tower. And it just seems to work really well with the kind of setup I'm running. And once again, you know, I have this solid stud, and then I have these custom lower control arms designed by Hybridracing and machined by my boy Pat at Old Boys. So yeah, really just this knuckle swap was just for maintenance, really. I wanted to put new bearings in, and I actually managed to save the bearings that were in the old knuckle, and they're gonna basically be in the trailer as spare front knuckles. So if I ever have like a wheel bearing go bad at an event, I have a complete ready to go knuckle assembly that I can just install on the car. Yeah, a few things I had to do with this knuckle. I had to basically drill and tap all of the ABS holes because this knuckle, it was a non-ABS knuckle. As you can see, I had a little incident, not really an incident, but undoing the nut actually just unthreaded the stud. So I'll have to red Loctite this guy back in, reinstall it. So that's basically all good to go. A few other things that I kind of want to mention before I talk about bodywork is actually the brake rotors. If you guys recall, at Mid-Ohio, I was shearing the rotor hat bolts left and right. It was actually getting pretty bad. And it was to the point where I was actually running out of replacement bolts. So we had to kind of pick and choose the ones that we thought were the best condition. The reason I think the bolts were failing was because these bolts, they're pre-drilled. I don't know if you can see it, but they're pre-drilled to accept safety wire. It's kind of a fancy technique, mostly in aerospace, where you kind of loop the safety wire around the bolt and then you go to the next bolt, loop it around that way, so it doesn't allow the bolts to loosen. Now, I don't do that. I just use Loctite. I think it's like 271. It's the high temp red Loctite. And I've never had a bolt come loose. Now, I've had bolt heads shear off, and I think that's because of that hole that's drilled through the bolt head. I think it just weakens the bolt a little bit more than I'd like. So yeah, the solution is just different bolts. So these are actually from McMaster Car. They're 1/4 inch by 20. And I forgot what class these were, but these were basically the highest strength bolts you can get. They were actually one level higher than the bolts on the rotor hat. And they're standard bolts, and you can kind of tell the strength based on, I think it's the hash marks on these bolts. So this has 6, while I think this has 9. But anyway, yeah, these bolts, they don't have any hole through them for the safety wire. And like I said, I don't use it. So replace all of these bolts with these stronger bolts. That should fix that issue. Honestly, if I was trying to get a permanent solution to this, I'd probably get like a floating rotor, but that requires a little bit more work. You'd have to completely redesign, you know, the rotor hat and the brake rotors. This system, it works really well for me, just besides those bolts. And luckily, I haven't had any failures on track, and I definitely shouldn't have any failures on track with those replacement bolts. So that's kind of what I've been working on. Just like I said, man, just focusing on little details, reliability, improvements, maintenance, bearings, knuckles, new bolts on the brakes. I'm probably gonna go with new Hawk Pad ER1s for the next event. So let's talk about some body work. One of the things that has been bugging me a lot this season is honestly the condition of my front bumper. This bumper has been through hell and back. It has survived multiple incidents, a few wrecks, a few bumps here, quite a few little bumps right here. It's just not looking good. And I really wanted to kind of at least clean it up, rewrap it, and just make it look pretty again. And then I realized I actually have a brand new OEM bumper, courtesy from my friend Chris at Aero OEM. He actually gifted it to me when I had the accident on the trailer a few years ago, and I've just been afraid to use it. It's been actually sitting on the top shelf there, but I'm gonna run it. Because yeah, it's a shame that it's a brand new OEM part, you know, you kind of want to save it, but like, what are you gonna save it for? So we're gonna run it. So I got it on right now in the car. Unfortunately, the wrap, it's not doing too great, so I'm gonna probably rewrap portions of it. But yeah, this is a brand new, completely OEM front bumper assembly from Honda. It's got the blue little tag on it because it's OG. And actually, this right here, this is the lip that I imported myself from Japan. This is the Doobie lip. This was kind of modified temporarily. It's just plastic covering these holes, just so my guys at RiseFab Shop can make a mold, and then the mold is what produced this lip right here. So this bumper, like I said, it's pretty trash. I'll probably have it as a spare. Unfortunately, this is another bumper that I ran, I believe the first season that I ran this car, also kind of trashed. So I got some spare Sedan bumpers. So anyway, what am I doing with the lip? So this lip is actually really cool. It's carbon Kevlar. My guy, he made it out of carbon Kevlar. But the problem with carbon Kevlar is that when you sand it down a little bit too much, it starts to fray, and you can't get rid of this. It's kind of a pain in the ass to wrap because obviously you can't wrap over fabric. It looks terrible. So when I first got this lip, what I actually had to do is I actually had to Bondo over the entire lip to basically cover all of the Kevlar, and then I wrapped over it. And as you would expect, after basically almost 1.5 seasons of racing, the Bondo starts to chip, and then, you know, big chips come off, and then the wrap starts looking like crap, and honestly, the front lip was pretty trashed. And I took all the wrap off yesterday, and it just peeled a lot of the Bondo off. So what I did is I basically sanded it down, and what I'm doing now is I'm actually covering it with a thin layer of fiberglass. So this is a super thin layer. I basically just did this portion right here, and then now today I'm gonna lay fiberglass over the front. And this is just allowed me to kind of have an extra layer of reinforcement. Not like the carbon Kevlar was weak, but I could then sand this down and I could have it nice and smooth. And then another thing I had to do is I cut this edge here when I first installed it, and now I kind of raised the flares a little bit. So I just basically filled this back in, and it came out pretty good. Gonna do one more layer of fiberglass on the front, sand it all down, maybe spray it with white or something so the vinyl sticks better, and then just wrap it white. And then this actual real Doobie lip, that's gonna be saved because I don't wanna break that. I can get replacement bumpers all day, well, maybe not brand new OEM, but I can't really go back to Japan to get another Doobie lip. Fiberglass work, I'm always torn on it. I dread it, but when you're actually doing it, it's actually pretty fun and relaxing. But yeah, I got this pretty nice thin material here. So I'm basically just going to cut how much I need and then just lay it on that front edge and then do a ton of sanding. So anyway, that's kind of a quick little update. And yeah, I'm excited for Lime Rock. We're getting there. We're focusing on aesthetics, which is pretty cool. That means I got really nothing else to do on the car. Yeah, kind of back to the lip. It's pretty much done. It's nice and smooth, and none of the carbon Kevlar is kind of peeking through that top coat. Yeah, anyway, just progress is moving right along. been a few days since I've recorded stuff in the shop, but let's give you guys a quick update because, well, I was gonna say a lot has happened, but not really. It's just been a lot of time focusing on little details, but what I've mainly been working on is the front end, and I'm trying to make the front end look completely brand new again. And of course, that's thanks to a brand new OEM front bumper, courtesy from Iron OEM. I finally have enough courage to run it. Fitting a bumper onto my race car requires a little bit of work. There's a lot of modifications you have to do to make it fit, and unfortunately, I did have to cut a brand new bumper, mainly for the fender flares, right? Because I got to make room for the 18s. And then of course drill a bunch of holes. But yeah, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. We got all fresh wrap on it. Fixed a lot of things with the splitter. The splitter was getting a lot of wear this season. So we have fresh fiberglass on the top edge and the bottom edge. We have recessed hardware for the titanium pucks from Professional Awesome. It just looks really good. And then it's finished off with a nice wrinkle black. And then I kind of redid the splitter L brackets here a little bit differently. So this is just kind of to support the racebred components tire splats, and instead of kind of going down with the screw and a nut, I just put another titanium rud puck on the edge here, which holds this together, and then there's an extra hole there. And this is really just because there was a lot of wear on the very edge of the splitter blade, so now that kind of kills two birds with one stone. Repaired a little bit of the wrap on the flares and the fenders. Just wanted to kind of clean it up really nice, and I focused a lot on little details, just like sealing all these gaps, like the headlights to the bumper, the splitter blade to the lip. There's seals everywhere just to make it as aerodynamic as possible, increase the downforce as much as I can. We have kind of grill block off, so I added a little bit of a block off over here, and on this side, once again, just to smooth the air out as much as I can. And this is the only opening that I run for this setup. It's pretty small. Blocked off this front too because I don't run an oil cooler anymore. So the whole front end project was really just to make it pretty and optimize the Aero as much as I can. And the last project that I'm working on with the splitter is, once again, just kind of optimizing things with the splitter blade. I'm actually redoing the brake ducts. So shout out to Hybridracing for sending me the 2.5 inch intake ducts. These are meant for the engine, but I actually use them for brake ducts. They're really nice because they're soft, they're light. I don't know, they just seem to work really well for what I do with them, because basically I kind of place them on the blade and then I insert this duct into there, kind of like so. And then I basically just fix these ducts into place and have them pointed directly at the back side of the rotor. And it seems to work really well. So that's really the only last thing I need to do here is just fix this into place. And I made these little holders that they'll kind of just sit kind of like that. So the plate will be bolted to the blade, and then the tube will just be zip tied to this plate. That's kind of it with the front end. New racebred components, tire splats, everything on the front end is pretty much new. And I think it looks incredible. Front end hasn't been this clean since I wrapped this car the previous season. So, and then we have a few other projects left to do. Let's get into that a little bit later. Let me finish this front end and I'll tell you guys what's going on next. Got the brake ducts mocked up. It's obviously a little bit easier to explain what I was thinking now that it's kind of together, but here's basically the idea, right? So have the holders bolted down to the splitter blade, and of course my hardware of choice here is elevator bolts. So that's going to be fixed into place, and then I have these holes for zip ties. The important thing is how you clock this tube to kind of point it at the middle of the rotor. So that's where the extended height of those studs come into play, which I have little holes here. So now this tube, as you can see, there you go, gets fixed into place. So now it's clocked. It won't really rotate. It will a little bit now, but once I zip tie this down, that tube's gonna be fixed into place, pointed directly at the rotors. Gotta do the same thing with this guy, figure out what my angle is here, and then drill the two holes, and then bam, brake ducts. So, really simple idea. That's basically it with the splitter. Splitter done, front end pretty much done. So that means I can wrap that whole project, call it a day, and this has been taking me about 2 weeks of work. Really time consuming. you gotta do the splitter test. It's solid. So, I mean, not much more to say. I think it looks great. It's gonna be functional. It's clean. Let's get you guys in here to kind of see how it's routed. So hose into the Hybridracing intake duct, and that points right at the brake rotor and caliper, and also the hub. You know, the axles, they do get pretty hot. So that's Aero. Aero is looking pretty good. Now we're gonna go looking for some more power. Now, the quest for power is kind of over. I kind of explained why I believe the high power formula didn't really work. For Lime Rock, I'm going back to sub 200 category. So that means I take less percentage, I get to run the car a lot lighter, and I get to run it on the tire size that I think the car is happiest on, which is a 255 front, 225 rear. Now I am actually gonna test 255 Falcons. I got them in the back. That's another story. But anyway, I'm going back to what I feel the car was best. And that was, you know, CMP, Gingerman. The car was phenomenal. Road Atlanta. That was all the light car formula. Mid-Ohio, I went heavy. Didn't quite work. I can still try to find some gains in the power band. A little bit more torque, maybe, you know, maybe more top end. And that's why I have this guy right here. Friends from DC Sports sent over their brand new header for K-Swap Hondas, which, dude, these K-Swap Golden Era Hondas have been around for 20 plus years now. And the fact that companies are still out there making headers, brand new design headers for these cars, it's pretty awesome. So let's unwrap this and I'll show you guys the benefits of this new header compared to what I'm currently running now. Ooh. Okay. That is pretty sick. DC Sports, 4 2-to-1, beautiful welds. I mean, dude, look at these welds, really nice. Got a little flex pipe at the end of it. That is sick. And then what do we got in here? Looks like we got a flange that you can weld onto your exhaust, donut gasket. So boom, 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 and nice header hardware. Even, damn, that's nice. That's actually pretty thick. Nice little header gasket. Yeah, I mean, I like the design. It seems like it steps up from the header ports, steps up again, and then obviously steps up once these merge together. And it looks like it's a 2.5-inch collector, but you can mate it to a 3-inch exhaust. This guy gives you that flexibility. But check this detail out. I didn't even see this before. We got DC on the flange, and the machining on the flange is sick. And then we got a part number right here. This thing looks good. It looks real good. Nice and smooth. Ports all fully welded, no gaps there. This thing is pretty sick. So shout out to the homies at DC Sports. But first, let me show you guys what I got going on. Actually been running the Skunk 2 Alpha header. Unfortunately, this header was on the car when I had that nasty trailer accident. No, wait. This header was on the EG hatch when I hit the wall at Road America. Because it is kinked, it is hit down here, it is kinked at the bottom, and it's also warped right here, and you can see exhaust marks coming out of this hole, and you could just see how loose it is right there. So this header, it's definitely warped, and I've been meaning to fix it. I just never had the time to do it. But yeah, when I saw DC Sports release this new header, I was like, all right, we gotta switch it up. This thing looks phenomenal. So I got the two headers here on the table, side by side. And obviously the main difference here, they're both 4 2-to-1. So these go 2 to 1 to the collector right here. Now, these basically pair the cylinders right next to each other to 1. Whereas the DC it's pairing 1 and 4 and then the middle 2 together. So these two obviously here, and then 1 and 4 merge here, and then they collect at that point. So there's definitely some optimization here, most likely due to the firing order of the cylinders. When one goes, the other one is scavenging, and then, you know, vice versa with the 1 and the 4 and then the 2 and the 3. I'm not a header engineer, but there's definitely a reason why these two are paired in a cross pattern, whereas these are just kind of easily paired right next to each other. You know, you'd have to put these both in the dyno and then see which one makes more power, but I don't know. I'm liking this design a little bit more. This measurement right here, this 41.77 is the width of the exhaust port on the car. One thing that I noticed about the DC Sports header is that the exhaust flange here is a lot smaller than this exhaust flange. I mean, I kind of like the Skunk 2 design because it's got a bigger opening for that head. But then I was like, well, what size is the head? Because it's irrelevant how big this is. It should be matched to the head size. And lo and behold, we're at 41.7. The Skunk 2 is way oversized at 48.3, almost 48.4 millimeters. So yeah, I mean, the Skunk 2 has a bigger opening, but this is perfectly matched to the diameter or to the opening on the head of the exhaust ports. So probably a better design as well. And then another thing I do like is that it immediately steps up to that bigger OD when it's against the head, because this is perfectly matched to the head. And that kind of also goes the same with this gasket. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the DC Sports is properly designed for a stock head. Now, sure enough, if you got a ported head and you got a lot bigger exhaust ports, then yeah, maybe you want to use the Skunk 2 design. Yeah, just a few kind of differences that I noticed with this header right now, just on the table. But man, it seems like this header here, it seems like that this is actually designed well. Whereas, you know, Skunk 2, that's probably, you know, I don't know, I don't want to talk shit about Skunk 2. I ran this header for a bunch of years with great success, and to kind of talk about the damage on this guy, you can see right here, it's pretty badly kinked, and it's definitely warped right here. You can see a lot of gas flow probably escaping from this port. But anyway, let's install this bad boy. Let's see how it looks in the car. I think that header is gonna make more power. That looks like a good header to me. So let's see how she fits. I got it in. I was getting a little frustrated, and it was the splitter. I just had to remove the splitter and then it went right in. But man, it fits real good. And look how tight it is to the steering column. And it is tight, but we got plenty of room to the half shaft. We got clearance to the subframe, and we have clearance to the steering rack. And it is tight up against the body. And yeah, I was able to get it in. Obviously I had to take the splitter off, but I was able to slip it in. I do think I could have kept the heat shield on, but I took it off because I thought maybe the heat shield was in the way. It was not, it was just the splitter because it was hitting the back of it. But man, look at this thing. This is sick. Let's take a look at it from the top side. Looks freaking good. We got clearance all the way down there. I'm digging it, guys. Yeah, stuff I really don't like doing in 80, 90 degree heat is being under the car working on the exhaust, but it is what it is. Yeah, for those curious, this is my exhaust setup. It's just one muffler that's probably blown out. It's an upside down Borla XR1, I think it is. Back half is actually a pretty nice mandrel bent 3-inch thermal is what it is. I got it used for pretty cheap. And then it's just a pretty simple turn down. And the turn down happens literally right here behind the rear wheel. So yeah, that's why my car is so loud. I think that's why it sounds pretty good, is because it's pretty much straight piped. But right now I am working on adapting this exhaust setup to the slightly longer header. Yeah, fun stuff. You guys don't need to see that. I'm basically just shortening it by, I think it was like 3 or 4 inches. So yeah, be aware of that. I guess if you're going to the DC Sports, you might have to adjust your exhaust setup depending on the car. It's the last day, technically. Tuesday, I want to try to get the car done tonight so I can load it up tomorrow, and then we're going to be heading up Thursday. Now, there was a potential test day for Lime Rock, and that's Thursday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And generally, I pretty much always do the test days at events, just because during the grid life events, we really only get 1 practice and then we go straight into qualifying. So it's not a lot of time to kind of dial in the car. And of course, you know, I'm also testing different tire setups. So it reduces a lot of your chances of trying different things. So I was gonna do this test day at Lime Rock, but unfortunately it's an 88 decibel sound limit. So Lime Rock is pretty notorious for having pretty strict sound restrictions. It's why they're never allowed to race there on a Sunday. Sunday is a quiet day, no matter what. Also during the week, you have to, you know, be pretty quiet, which hence the 88 decibel sound limit. Now, during the Grid Life event, there's no sound restrictions. They get a few of them per year. Luckily, Grid Life's one of them, which means I get to run this car at full volume, and this car is pretty loud. Now, unfortunately, this car would not pass the 88 decibel sound limit for the test day, so I had an idea of potentially running a muffler that I've had since I've had the hatch, and it's a thermal 3-inch exhaust. And I thought, hey, maybe I can make the hatch axle back work, because generally what I normally have is I have a turn down that kind of goes right there by the trailing arm in front of the axle. Like I said, it's gonna be way too loud. So I have this 3-inch thermal axle back, and it don't fit. It don't fit at all. It's honestly not even close. I figured, you know, worst case, I just extend the tip out to go past the rear bumper. But the issue kind of stems actually right here. It's short by about a few inches. Now, this is also part of the thermal exhaust, and as you can tell, we are basically hitting everything. Sway bars in the way. It's just it's not gonna work. So yeah, I'm gonna give up on this idea. I don't have really time to rework this exhaust, and plus, you know, it's an extremely tight space to kind of get over this LCA and sway bar. Like nothing aftermarket's gonna fit. You're gonna have to go full custom, and plus I think it looks pretty hideous. But anyway, so that kind of made my decision easy. I'm not gonna do the test day. I'm just gonna show up and just do the Grid Life event, because the last thing I want to do is spend like a couple $100 to go to this test day, do half a session, and immediately get black flagged because this car is loud. This is one of the louder cars in the field. So anyway, that kind of concludes all the work that I need to do on the car, honestly. Lime Rock coming up next. I'm excited because last year felt like we had a lot to prove and we didn't get a chance at all. But we're gonna come out swinging this year. So catch you guys at Lime Rock. Let's go win some races.